Liam, it goes without saying, I'd imagine, that everything's a little bit more buoyant after Tuesday night. Just how much relief is there from yourself and your coaching staff after Tuesday's victory?
Yeah, I think of course it was much needed. Obviously, with the tough run we've been on in terms of results, but more for the staff and the players in terms of how hard they work. I think that was probably my biggest, feeling and emotion after the game was, the work that the staff put in. They go so far above and beyond in terms of what they try to provide the players, and the players have really stepped up recently in terms of trying to take it on board and implement and execute what we're asking them to in games. So to get the rewards, I think that's probably the biggest thing. An element of satisfaction for the guys that they've worked so hard to then get that.
And I guess during that period, one of the key factors was the consistency of your message, and you've talked about it a lot during pre-match interviews. And even last season, when the side were doing really well, you always said it's got to be consistent. You don't go way up here and you don't go way down there. Do you think that's been an important part of how you've turned this around? I mean, turn this around. It's one game, I know, but turn this around to win on Tuesday.
Yeah, you'd like to think so. I think in terms of consistently treating people properly. I think of course we drive a standard, we set expectations. That we what we want from the players and what we want to deliver as a group of staff, and you have to hold people accountable to that. But I think it's just being consistent in terms of what you expect from people. I think that sometimes when you do well you can take your foot off the gas, the same as you can go over the top and be ultra hard when you're having a tough time. I think it's just being consistent with driving a standard every single day, and I think that's what we've tried to do as a group of staff is consistently provide the best work that we can for the players, consistently go into the appropriate level of detail that we need to create the correct game plan. And I think we've seen that in the last probably couple of weeks. I think in terms of performances we've not got the results that of course we want, and that I felt at times we've deserved, but we've definitely seen an upturn in performances. And that's the challenge for Saturday. I think is focus on the performance in terms of how we want to play, what we are as a team, what we want to be identified with, how we believe we can win games, and really back yourselves and believe in it. And I think that the second you start again worrying and focusing on the result, you often then forget around what the most important thing is.
There must have been, Liam, some moments, the squad and the coaching staff aside, there must have been some moments for you personally as a human being where you probably had a few just moments by yourself, not dark moments, but moments that were quite difficult, thoughtful moments.
You're trying to say I look stressed and old, basically. That's the angle you're going
You've
with, all right?
aged so much, Liam, in the last few weeks.
Look, it's tough, but I also think perspective thing. We've obviously had some tough moments this season. With obviously Lucy, and then obviously with Pricey as well. Where do you know what Saturday it does hurt. I hate losing. I hate not performing. I hate not sometimes getting out of games what you feel the players should deserve. But you're quickly reminded actually in the grand scheme of things we are very fortunate to work in the game and do what we do. So rather than wasting loads of energy and emotion on being down and being frustrated, for me it's just channeling to being better. How do we get out of it? That's I see it as a challenge. You go one or two ways. You either step up and get up for the scrap and the fight and execute and deliver and rise to it, or you do mope around and feel sorry for yourself. So it's been great learning for me. Of course it's been a challenge at times, which that for me my whole career has been based on challenges. So it's how you respond to that, which is again I'm fortunate I've got a terrific group of people around me that support me. And are consistent with what we try and do. And I think that's the biggest thing in terms of, I think if you feel isolated and you feel on your own, then it does become maybe more challenging. But, not just the coaching staff, everybody at the club is so all in, I think, in terms of what we're trying to do, and everybody's aligned on that, I think that's what gets you through it, people sticking together.
We just spoken to Dean Lewington, another milestone to look at, and it's difficult asking for words about Dean as a player and as a person. He'll if he start if he plays on Saturday, it will be his 900th career game as a player, which it's mind blowing. There's no two ways about it. It's mind blowing. If you can find any words to describe Dean Lewington, go ahead.
Obviously spoke. He hit some milestones. I think last season as well. He's just terrific. I think in terms of, I think he's really progressed as well at how he speaks with the group. I think when we first came in, and we give him a big platform to have a voice, and his knowledge of the league and the game is outstanding. Uh, and I think what we've really challenged him to do, and I think he's really progressed that since we've been here, is actually the voice he has in the change room and the content he gives. I think he's emotional when he needs to be, but at the same point, I think he's added a lot more content detail, and he's a lot more, I think, like I said, I think there's a lot more constructive criticism now rather than it being emotional rants. Which, again, there's a time and a place for both. But he's massive in the changing room. He's huge in terms of, since I've been at the club working with him, in terms of the relationship we have, and picking his brains, getting his ideas, challenging him to, execute certain things on the pitch and have a voice with the players on the pitch. It's incredible what he's done in the career, and I feel fortunate to have worked with him for the period of time I have.
He's got a wicked sense of humour as well, hasn't he, Dean?
Yeah, terrific. I think he's definitely, in terms of in the changing room, you wouldn't think he's the oldest and played 900 games when you see how he is around the lads. So he's, like I said, nothing but compliments for him, and it's remarkable what he's done in his career.
Just one more question on Dean, and I know this because he said this to me for so many years, that he's not interested in becoming a manager. But honestly, take aside what he thinks at the moment. Is he capable? Do you think it's something that he could do in his career?
Yeah, he could be a terrific coach if he wants to, and I think that's what we've pushed him to, in terms of, I spoke with the PFA to sort out actually them coming in and delivering a UEFA B license with the lads here. So we've got 6 of the players are doing the UEFA B in their downtime, which, again, credit to them, but also the staff, in terms of what we're trying to do of just help people improve and get better and set people up for future careers. And I think when you look at it, he's a real people person. He's really good in terms of how he communicates with people, and I think his knowledge of the game and just the experience he's got, I think he has so much to give back to the game still, that I think, when I look at how he is with some of the younger players in terms of pulling them, giving them messages, showing them bits and pieces video wise, after training, having conversations around, right, when you did this, I found it difficult, try this, do this. He's doing it already. I think it's probably more just in terms of maybe some of the more formalised stuff of session design and the other bits and pieces that sometimes players can become slightly fearful of. I think that's probably the easiest stuff to learn. I think what he's got is the ability to communicate and the ability to educate. So I think he's really doing a huge amount of coaching already.
Tuesday night, just back to that briefly. Victory, clean sheet, and Mo Isa with some time on the pitch. You sprung that on all of us a little bit. Nobody was expecting that. Has he come through okay? And what a bonus to have a player like Mo coming back into fitness.
Yeah, he came through it okay. Yeah, I think he was annoyed I didn't put him on earlier, but he came through it well. And credit, I said it after the game, I think credit to him and the medical staff, and the coaching staff for the work that everybody's done to get him back. But first and foremost, huge amount of credit deserves. Mo deserves himself. Ultimately, he stayed so positive. It's such a long, difficult injury to come back from. But I have to say, quite often you need to spend a bit of time picking players up and giving them a boost, or kind of accepting some days is quite frustrating or hard for him to come in. He's been the total opposite. Every single day he's come in, done his work, gone above, gone above what's been asked of him, done extras, stayed positive, stayed upbeat, and that's why he's probably come back at the level he's looked at in training. So huge boost for the group. Definitely, I think not just what he brings from a footballing perspective, but also his character and his personality. He's a terrific character that is massive to have around the group, and someone else that's played a lot of League One football and knows how we play and what we're about. So again, I think that's also another boost for us as well. But we also have to be realistic. I think I know he'll be annoyed at me for saying it, but it might take him a little bit of time to get up to speed. He might start well and then have a dip. I think it tends to happen when you've been out for such a long period of time. Just to come straight back in and hit the ground running and find the form that you were in previously doesn't always happen. So again, I think that's where we have to push him, we have to challenge him, but we also have to be a little bit patient, I think, at times with him.
Tuesday's victory is great. Got to back it up now, haven't you, against Cheltenham?
You don't have to. I think you have to try. I think that's probably the most important thing. I think we didn't go into Tuesday's game going, right, we have to win. It wasn't a must-win game. There's still, we got 30 games left, is it? Something like that. I think there's so much still to play for, of course. I think momentum's big. It helps. I think, stringing runs together, found that last season, and, you look at teams this season doing the same. I think that's key, is trying to put streaks together, runs together where, the league can change completely in a week, given where it's at the minute. So all our energy will be the same as Tuesday. It goes into being us, our identity, playing our way, the behaviours we need to perform and execute with quality. And I think that's what we saw on Tuesday, is that we had the game plan, and ultimately the players stepped up, took responsibility, and executed it. And even then, within the grey moments where we started the second half, we were up against it a little bit. They stayed disciplined and stayed focused and remained hard to beat, which they're traits that when you're up against it a little bit, what you need to get you through. So our energy will be going into actions on Saturday, definitely.
And Wade Elliott's had a mixed season, hasn't he? Very very slow start, a decent middle section so far. Lost 4 on the spin, including a trophy game, and obviously got their first victory as well. So he's doing an interesting job, and a young manager who's kind of worked his way through to get this opportunity at Cheltenham.
Yeah, I know Wade. I did the pro license with Wade, so he's someone I've stayed in touch with a little bit over since doing the course. And yeah, it's difficult to follow. Obviously follow Mike Duff like he did, in terms of how much success he had there and how well he did. So I think it's always difficult to follow someone that's had the success he has. But we know what to expect. From a Cheltenham side. Wade's a good coach. We'll have them well organised. But again, for me, I look at it, I flip it back on us. It has to be about us. It has to be about, still recognising the position we're in, but taking the positives from the last 2 weeks' performances to try and build on it, and that'll be the message to the players.
Thanks, Liam.
Mentioned on Tuesday night that you wanted the performance to be a benchmark really for your side this season, and I think it was the first clean sheet we've seen in the league as well. How massive is that, and how important is it to use that as I say, as a benchmark?
Yeah, I think as every game we do our post-match reflection, we do the analysis, we pull out everything individually, unit, team, and go through it. And I think that was probably the biggest thing in terms of between the phases. We've struggled at times. I think we've shown moments in games where we either defended well or attacked well or countered well or blocked well. I think what we did the other night was we did a bit of all of them with quality, and I think that's what you need in games. It's never going to be total domination start to end. So again, I think that was the pleasing thing, on Tuesday, was that I thought we blocked well, we pressed well. Definitely at the start of the game, we countered well. We then, when we transition, couldn't counter, we kept the ball really well, we built up well, and we created a decent number of chances in comparison to Charlton. So that was probably the pleasing thing. I thought there was lots of good moments from different phases of the game.
When you talk about your team defending from the front, I mean the amount of ground that Will Grigg covered chasing the ball amongst those Charlton defenders was relentless all night.
Yeah, he's so honest. He probably ran too much. It was the stuff we looked at this afternoon, was the out of possession. He actually ran too much. Instead of just structurally, it wasn't a lack of other people wanting to run. It was actually just a structural thing. So that kind of epitomises him and what we need in the team. I think that if you look at any successful team, is built on everybody wanting to attack, everybody wanting to defend, and everybody wanting to commit everything to it. And I think that's what you saw the other night. As well as Griggy, I thought Nathan Holland, Louis Barry out of possession. They work so hard as well, and I think that when we talk about benchmarks, that's what it has to look like. You have to take yourself to them places every single week where physically it hurts, mentally it hurts, because you've given everything for the team. And Griggy certainly, he led that in terms of role model and that behaviour the other night, definitely.